Hello, welcome to the first episode of the G-Spot podcast with a working title. For those of you watching the video, if you're wondering why we're in a meeting room, this is a grassroots campaign. It's starting from the bottom. Just work with me. Knock on laminate. Things will get better soon. Why did I start a podcast, you ask? That is a really good question, and that will all be answered in time. I think this is something that is bubbling and that will only come to fruition when everything is put together. I'm sure, or I hope, you've read some of my articles so far. I've been doing this since May. So if you're watching this, I assume you've probably read a G-Spot or two. And to those of you who are loyal readers, I thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. I started the G-Spot because I really just wanted a creative outlet. And I've always been someone who's very vocal about my opinion. I've been on online spaces since 2011, maybe? So I was like 9 on forum boards, just being absolutely crazy, saying stuff that a 9-year-old should not be knowing anything about. But that's kind of just the nature of growing up on the internet. And I feel like everyone these days shares a similar experience. But yeah, I just never really grew out of it. So I kept going. It's like, ooh, but yeah, so I've been looking for a creative outlet for a while now, and I just think tweeting wasn't enough. And it's been, I think, approaching almost a decade of me being very vocal on Twitter. And in 2023, I got my first full-time job, and it really just, I was not really creatively satisfied. So when I heard about See You Next Tuesday, at first I was like, I'll be honest, don't hate me guys. I was like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? and then I kept thinking about it. I was like, damn, it's like, I'm jealous. That's why I'm like, what is this? Like, they're putting this else out there, like, whatever. And now it's like, well, no, you know what? I actually want to be a part of that too. So I was at, I think it was Zane's Mess. Zane and Sierra, the founder of See You Next Tuesday, their joint birthday party. And I think that's when the seeds were planted of, I'm going to get into the See You Next Tuesday sphere. And then I think there was one more event. I think it was at L'Aficionado.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think it was maybe Zane's going away party, if I'm not mistaken.
It was in May though, so I don't know what it was.
I know. When was it? But I went to another event, and yeah, I kind of just started talking, and I was like, well, I would love to be a part of it. And then I was really nervous initially because I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they'll want me. I don't know if they'll take me, or I don't know if this is kind of like a different thing for the magazine. And lo and behold, they took me, and I wrote my first article on One Hit Wonders back in May 2024. So it was actually, in retrospect, it was a quick turnaround from me talking to See You Next Tuesday initially and getting my first article out. It felt like a really long time at the time, but yeah. So I've been doing that since May, and it's really just been a great experience, just really testing my creative muscles. I was never really a writer. Even in university, I did not care too much when it came to essays or anything. But I have always been tweeting, and I've always just been putting my voice out there. And that's kind of why I felt like a natural progression from that. And yeah, I really feel like it's opened a lot of doors creatively. I love what it's done for just like I find like I even write better emails now at work. It's really great to like discover one's pros and really how they like writing and what they want to say. And it's great to have a voice where people listen, and you don't really know who those people are. And there may be like one, it's like the Lady Gaga where it's like, there's 99 people in a room and they're all telling you you can't do it, but there's that one person who is. That's kind of how I feel with putting an article out there. But really, it's been great. Like all the love from my friends, just even random people have told me, and it really means a lot. So I'm excited for this podcast to be the natural progression. Side note, the articles are not going anywhere. I am very dedicated to my craft, and I don't know, somehow, some way, I will be doing articles and podcasts simultaneously, and there'll probably be different topics each week. So it's like we're digging to the bottom of the barrel, but we are getting ideas. So when it comes to writing articles, I've been kind of trying to branch out. At first, I was really just only doing pop culture. And I think the first article I really started getting kind of political was the one with Doug Ford when he pretty much destroyed Ontario Place. And that really just sparked a fire in me because I remember that week, I was like, I don't have any ideas. I have no idea what to write about. I don't know, maybe I'll just take a hiatus this week. And all I was really talking about in my circles was this Doug Ford thing. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm talking about this. How about I just write an article? And that's kind of been my thought philosophy going forward is like, if I don't know what I'm talking about that week, I normally have a topic du jour that I'm talking about with my friends all week. And that's kind of what I've ended up just doing my articles on. And it's been really great because I kind of build that creative rapport with them and I get their opinions. I have my own opinion. And then I take all that and I put it into the article. So I've been really enjoying that. But yeah, so we're doing the pop culture and we're doing political. And I think we're starting to do some urban design, urban planning. I know it's crazy, but these are all my interests. So I'm kind of just really trying to focus on what I'm interested in. I mean, no one wants to read an article where my heart's not really in it. Like you can tell, you can tell if it's half-assed. So I feel like it's better just, and that's kind of what I love about See You Next Tuesday, is they let me do really whatever I want. Like I've never had Sierra tell me no. And that's really what I love so much about it. I think some of my favorite articles I've written were definitely, I think the first one was really cute. I think it was a really cute step into writing. And I remember the second one, it was on Tinashe. And I answered, is somebody gonna match my freak? And I remember Sierra telling me, whoa, this one is getting so many hits on Google. And I think still to this day, if you Google, is somebody gonna match my freak? See You Next Tuesday, my article comes up, I think, on the first page of searches, which is still like, I can't believe that was such like a wow. It's the same feeling I kind of had when I used to really be on Twitter and you get a tweet with like a couple 100,000 likes. Like that is such like a, but this felt more like, wow, I'm like a grown up and I'm a creative. and yeah, it's just a really nice feeling. And it's like, but I think the difference now between teenage me on Twitter and me is like, I'm not really chasing that high of quick, just like virality. Like I, on purpose, do not ask Sierra how many clicks because I don't want to know. It's like, I feel like if I'm chasing that kind of thing, then we're losing the plot. Like it's fun to just be like, put it out there, read it, share it to my friends, and be done with it. But yeah, I think my favorite articles that I've done, really, the first two were cute. I think this is such a hard question. It's like, what child is your favorite?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I really do like the political ones. I think they tell a different side of me that not many people would know that I really care about these things. I feel like a lot of people don't care about these things, so they aren't really just aware they're happening. Like I remember my friend who bikes everywhere had no idea about the bike lanes, what was going on. And I was like, oh my God, well, let me let me tell you here. So that's been a really great thing to do, just like in my circle of friends, and even just like the reach that has on See You Next Tuesday. It's been great. Just, I feel it's another thing for Toronto to have, and I feel like Toronto is in need. That people always are like artistic spaces, and I don't find the G Spot high art by any means, but I do think it contributes to the artistic space in Toronto, and that's really, it's rewarding. And it's different to a corporate job where it's like, well, that's rewarding in a sense where it's like, okay, like I'm getting my money up, and it's like, obviously I like what I do for work. Don't get it twisted. If anyone who works with me is watching this, like, don't get it twisted. But it's a different kind of satisfaction to really satisfy your creative whims. I think that's what I love about it so much. So I'm actually from a small town 30 minutes south of Ottawa. It's called Russell, Ontario. I don't know if anyone I went to high school with reads my articles or follows See You Next Tuesday, but if they do, it's like, shout out, hey. But yeah, I didn't grow up on my grandparents' farm, but I would go there before and after school for, I think, like kindergarten until maybe middle school. And then I kind of just like went for my regular house. But it was really a unique experience growing up on a farm and then just being so close to my family because they all lived in the small town with me for the most part. And yeah, it's a different kind of upbringing growing up in a small town. And I used to really resent it because I moved here and it's like, oh my God, all like these city people are so cool. And even most of my friends who are from here are actually from Ottawa. Well, they were at the time, I guess it's meant more people now. But initially, most of my friends are from Ottawa. And even just being from the suburbs of Ottawa, I thought, wow, they like had such different high school experiences than me. They're so much more worldly than me. But really, it all kind of fades away the older you go. So if anyone is young out there, it really is a fleeting moment of feeling othered or different. This is such like I'm on a soapbox and I'm really trying to inspire the youth. If you grew up in a small town, I'm here for you. You're never alone. But it's different. And I think growing up gay there was never really a big deal. I think people were like relative. It was like the mid 2010s, so it's not like anything was really crazy. Like gay marriage just legalized in the U.S. Like, I don't know. But yeah, that was, and I had like my group of friends, and that was always great. I never really didn't feel supported. My parents were great about all that stuff. I feel like I'm like in a work interview, because I had my coworker the other day. She was like talking about like being gay and stuff, and she's like, "How was it for you?" I was like, "It's fine." Like, it's really never anything that serious, I feel. But yeah, so I graduated high school in 2019, and then I moved to Toronto right away because I cannot stay here, and I did not want to go to Ottawa. I actually had no idea Montreal was even like, this is how small town I was. I didn't know Montreal was really like a place people went. Like I went there on a field trip in high school, and I was just like, okay, cool, like it's French, like don't give a fuck. Like knowing now, I remember I was like, oh, I wish I went to school in like Concordia or McGill, like Montreal's so cool. But I think no, I'm happy that I went to Toronto Metropolitan University, because when I was applying for schools, I did not know anything about anything. And I was just like, oh, at the time, Ryerson. I'm sorry, I still refer to it as Ryerson. And I know that's maybe not politically correct, but it's like that is just what I've grown up with over the time. And I'm sorry, please, but I will say TMU going forward. But I really did not. I was just like, oh, downtown university, I want to go here. I did not give a fuck about what any of the schooling things were. I actually applied to U of T Scarborough, because I thought, oh, the same shit, U of T is U of T. Because there was like, oh, international relations, like that's like international business. I want to do that. Okay, U of T Scarborough. And the people who came to my bumfuck high school university fair did not really explain that well, or maybe I just did not listen because I didn't care. And I remember them telling me, oh, you need like really good grades to go to U of T St. George. And I was like, okay, well, that's not happening. So we're going to do U of T Scarborough. But on that note, yes, so I don't have really good grades at the time. So that is why I went to Ryerson. And that was fun. I mean, COVID happened in halfway through first year, and love COVID so much for online school. I'm sorry, I'll say it, online school was awesome. Everyone who missed out on online school, you missed out. And I know people who actually took off, who did gap years during online school. And I'm just like, you missed out on the easiest grades of your life because it was a time, like it was, I got to have online school up until my fourth year. And I think even the first semester of fourth year was half online, or because TMU stayed online to like the very end. I remember I had friends who went to Queens and they were like, nope, we're back in person like pretty quick. No, TMU, it's like a beautiful liberal school who stayed shut down until the very end. And we loved it. And yeah, I graduated in 2023 with honors. It's like I just scraped by. You need a 3.5 cumulative GPA to get honors. I have a 3.52. So, but yeah, and then through that, I was actually working. So funnily enough, I didn't get into co-op, but I did get a job opportunity, which was essentially a co-op where I really love them. I still work for them, actually. I was doing essentially nothing, and they were paying me really well. I remember the hiring interview I had with the chief financial officer. It's a big deal. He's like, I offered my son this job. He didn't want it. I offered my son's friend this job. He didn't want it. I said, do you guys know anyone who wants this job? They were like, no, like, we don't care. And I remember when I applied, I'm so bad with telling stories, so I'm always jumping through time. But when I applied on LinkedIn, they called me within 5 minutes, which I've never had in my life, and I've since never had in my life. And I was like, hello, who is this? They're like, it's the company you just applied for. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we'd love to set up an interview. I was like, really? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I had an interview in, I think, the following week, and I got the job. And it was great to work. I worked it actually, funnily enough. I am like Rainy Rodriguez from Austin Alley. That's showing my age. I worked jobs through university. Like I was a cashier at a grocery store, also worked the cafe there. At the same time, I was an enumerator for Statistics Canada, and I would go around door to door in the annex, knocking on people's doors, being like, "Have you filled out the census?" And imagine the reactions as people were like, "Get the fuck out of my house." I used to actually, if it was in an apartment complex, I would buzz every single door to let me in because no one would ever answer because it's like, this is probably an unoccupied dwelling, which was the whole point of the thing. So I buzz every single door and then I'd walk into this random apartment complex and just have to be like, "Hey," like, and I'd go to their house and I remember being yelled at by people, and it was definitely a fun job for 19-year-olds, but it paid decently and I got to do my own hours. And that was great. And then funnily enough, I actually got another Statistics Canada job working as an interviewer over the phone. And that was also harrowing. And I remember I did not love it. It was not fun. I had to call people every minute of the day. If someone hung up on me, I would need to call someone within the next 30 seconds. And they would be like 7-hour-long shifts, and I wouldn't really have a proper lunch break. And it'd be half an hour lunch, and it would be 2 15-minute breaks. And it was terrible. And then while working that job, I also worked the job that I applied for and got in 5 minutes. So I was doing those two at the same time. So I was never not working 2 jobs at once while also being a full-time student. Keep in mind, these are both remote jobs and this is online school. So make with that as you will, but I was definitely booked and busy. That all came to an end when I graduated in 2023, and I actually took a little trip to Europe. I feel like I'm getting so off topic, but I just hope you guys enjoy this little story about my life. And I actually quit both jobs, and they were going to offer me full-time at the job I currently work for, so that's a little bit of a spoiler for the story. But I was like, no, I'm actually moving to Montreal. And they're like, "Oh, okay, we have a position for you in Ontario, but I guess we can send your information to Quebec and see what happens." And I remember I was in the middle of London in the field right outside the palace, like that big downtown palace. I was with some random girl I met in Poland. No, I didn't meet her in Poland, but she's Polish. And we were just hanging out. No, my gosh, she's Austrian. I'm sorry. She's Austrian.
What's your identity?
She's Austrian. Not that it matters. But I remember just sitting there and I was on my phone and I got an email and it was like, "We'd love to have an interview with you for the Quebec department." And I was like, "What?" And I really didn't think they were going to send my information, but they did. And lo and behold, I'm still working for the Quebec department of my company. And it's been great. Like I really do like the team. It's a nice experience. I get to work from home most days and it's really nice.
Do you speak French?
Oui, je parle en français. C'est pas meilleur, mais it's so bad. I'll call people because it's like it's kind of like tradesy. So I'll be calling people in the branches in Quebec, and I'll be like, "Bon, and I feel like they cannot stand me. They're very nice with me, but my broken Franglish, I feel so they will switch to English, or it's like when it's the real deep Quebec, they will keep going in French, and it's like they'll have to tell me order numbers, and I'll be like, "S'il vous plaît, just like numéro upon numéro," because I cannot speak. I can't even roll my R's. You probably just heard that for all the French listeners. But I need like number by number order because they'll be like 1960. I'm like, "No, I'm sorry," and I get this because it's like a 7-digit number, and I'm like, "I cannot keep up with this. I'm sorry, please, just number by number, please." And I hear like a over the phone. But no, it's been great, and I've honestly learned a lot of French from working there. I actually dropped out of immersion in high school because I was like, get this, why Montreal? I never thought anyone would move there. Why the fuck would I need to know French? I would never live in Montreal. Fast forward 2023, I am living in Montreal. I am working in French. But that was short-lived as I'm back here in Toronto. And yeah, so I moved to Montreal and then I moved back in 5 months because I had no friends. I had my sister and another friend. And that was it. And I thank them so much because they kept me sane, but I could not do it anymore. And I moved back to Toronto. And luckily my job let me keep my job. So I'm still working for Quebec in Toronto. I am thankful every single day because I was going to move without a plan. And I actually told my manager I'm moving on the day she hired me full-time and gave me a raise. So I was like, "Thank you for the raise. By the way, I'm moving. Can we still keep this going?" She was like, Sure. So, yeah.
It's like tabernacle.
She's like, bang, tabernacle bear. Because I go for Robert at work. If you've seen my LinkedIn, I'm Robert Hannah. So my professional alias is Robert Hannah because my name is Robert Gordon Hannah. It's very weird, but I feel like Hannah Montana, kind of, because during university and now my working life, it's Robert Hannah. But then my personal life, it's Gordon Hannah. It's definitely a fun work-life balance, and it actually kind of helps separate working in real life because it's like Hannah Montana. Like, I get why she did that. It's it's valid. I think what I'm setting out to do with this podcast is really just a new way of spreading the G-Spot love. I want this to be an overarching empire. I need the G-Spot to get the Canadian grants soon. I think we need to work me into the Constitution and have G-Spot really just like CanCon. I know we're looking for CanCon right now. The G-Spot is here. And the G-Spot is young. The G-Spot is fresh and it's bilingual. Si tu veux, je peux parler en français aussi. Je peux créer une version française pour les personnes, pour les Allemands au Québec et les Allemands comme Ottawa-Gano, choses comme ça, si tu veux. But yeah, it's like we can even maybe like get a Mandarin version working for like British Columbia. I did take Mandarin for 3 years, so it's like I need to brush up a little bit on it, but I could do it if that's where we're going. But yeah, I think really just I want this podcast to be just honestly something people can throw on in the background. Like if you're done with just mindlessly scrolling, and if you see this on a TikTok or something, hi. But yeah, it's a different form of entertainment. I think. Is it the future? No, because podcasts really had their heyday a couple years ago. But it's Canada and we're late to everything. So welcome to another podcast. But this time it's Canadian. But yeah, I really just think it's a new avenue and it's exciting. I've never really done video like this nor audio. So it's really just, we're going to see where it goes. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So if you're wondering why Miffy's been standing on this cup holder this entire time, I'm actually half Dutch. I'm half Dutch, I'm a quarter Irish, but no. So I was in New York and I went to the MoMA and I saw this Miffy here and this is so embarrassing. I'm like, producer, what is this pet? It's so embarrassing. This is a very important Dutch artist and I don't remember his name, but she's an haute couture, Dutch fashion. And then, yeah, I love Miffy. She's cute. And I was like, on the way here, I was like, what kind of prop could I bring? And I was like, I think this is it's sitting on my desk. It's just the cutest little thing. And my cat kind of fucked it up. If you really see closely, she has like strands coming all out of her.
You can put a mic on her.
It's like, yeah, I'll interview her one day. But yeah, she's cute. She's a sweetie pie. So that was kind of the first episode of the G-Spot experience. Working title, Gord Standard. It's like, can the fans vote in the comments? I don't know how Spotify works, but I'm like, guys, the best title wins. May the odds be ever in your favor. What I'm really setting out to do with this podcast is, again, just I think expanding on the G-Spot as it is. So we'll talk about pop culture mostly. I feel like that's what I can ramble on the most about without having to look things up. Because with these urban planning and political articles, guys, I'm doing research for these. I am going into toronto.ca. I am going onto political pages. It is not as easy as one may expect. People who are probably like writing like theses right now are like, "Can you shut the fuck up?" Like,
You don't even know.
it's like you went to business school. Your class was painting by numbers and Pythagorean theorem.
And what about that?
And exactly, it's like supply and demand. You're mad, like the fuck. But yeah, I think with the next 2 episodes, we're going to be talking about a variety of topics. I'm going to be introducing and interviewing Sierra and Christine, which will be, if you don't know who they are, hello, welcome to See You Next Tuesday. But I think it's going to be a fun conversation. And yeah, get ready for it. We're all going to be matching See You Next Tuesday shirts. So for those who are only listening to the audio, use your imaginations. For those who are watching the video, stay tuned because it's going to be legendary. Yeah. For the next episode, we will be talking about ranking Toronto neighborhoods. And as someone who just proclaimed they're from a small town, what do I know? And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. We will be going over Tate McRae's latest release and what I want for Tate McRae, because I think she's in the right direction. And as you know, See Next Tuesday loves Tate McRae. She's our little sister. We want the best for her. And we will tell her what to do because I think she needs the guidance. But that was the first episode of the working title Gordistotle podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and I really appreciate it.